core math tools, and specifically we're going to be looking at the algebra and functions. And so one of the first applications that we're going to be looking at is a computer algebra system, which is CAS for short. And when we open up this application, you can see a big white screen. And this screen will actually record your history whenever you enter in a command. The command bar is down on the bottom. And so as an example, we can enter in x squared plus 4 equals negative 4x. And to enter this, we'll press enter and it will show up in the history. And to solve this in the command bar, once again, we will enter in plus 4x, press enter, and it will actually simplify this equation further for you. Another cool thing about CAS is that it's got all these functions. And so if we go up to the top where it says algebra, there are some drop downs, and we're going to click on factor for this example. And we're going to factor the equation that we have up in our history. And then we'll press enter, and it will factor it for us. So that's just one of the many applications in the system. Besides this, we also can look at matrices. And up top, there's a matrices drop down. And if we want to enter a new matrix, we will press new matrix. And then we'll just title this matrix A. It'll next ask for the dimensions, and we'll look at a 2x2 matrix. And then we'll proceed to enter in all of the entries. And so we'll look at 1, 3, 2, and 4. And there are a lot of different things that you can do. You can go back up where it says matrix, and if you click on inverse, it'll go ahead and calculate the inverse for you. You can also click on transpose, and we've also got that option. And so if we click exit, we can go back to our command bar, and we can actually get this exact same matrix by using a different operation. And so instead of going to the drop down, we can click on the command bar and type in the word matrix, and then 2, 2 for the dimensions, and then the entries by row is 1, 3, 2, 4. And so that'll give us, should have been the same matrix, we put in the wrong 2 entries, but that's okay. And so you can also use the same command, and you can find the inverse of that same matrix. So just like that. And so when you're using CAS, there are a lot of different options. You can perform the same things using some operation that's already in the system. And so another thing that we can look at has to do with this y equals tab. And this will help you to graph different functions, and it'll show you the tables. And so what we're going to look at is y equals x squared. And so if we want to look at the graph of this, we're going to check that box. And we'll go ahead and look at the graph, and it'll just give us a parabola. We can actually tweak the settings if we want to. And so we can change our window. We can also look at the graph with just the points. And so there's that setting. And then we can also look at the table to see the actual values. And so okay, and there's also settings to look at 3D graphs. And so CAS actually has some examples that are already built in, so we're going to just use one of their examples and look at one of the 3D graphs. So we'll click select again. So here's a nice 3D graph, and you can actually drag this graph and twist it and look at it from all different angles. There are options up top where you can cut the graph and it'll slice it just for different viewing options. Okay. So besides these things that we've covered, there's some basic things on the home screen. You've got the buttons up top. You've got for parametric equations. There is the y. And there's also the y equals for piecewise functions. And then you've got up top another drop down where it says options. There's the math toolbar. And by clicking these, it puts the operation in your command bar so that you don't have to enter it yourself. And so it'll give you the basic outline, and you'll just go ahead and put in the values that you need to. Okay. Also under options, we have, you can check auto simplify or auto numeric, which is basically just fraction versus decimal. There's also radians and degrees, and you can even work with complex numbers. So one last thing that we can look at with CAS is under the functions drop down. And this will just give you a bunch of different options for different commands that we can use. Different things with trig and combinatorics and just different things like that. And so that's just some basic stuff about CAS that we have. And so the other application under algebra and functions is the spreadsheet. It's a lot like Excel. It's a little more basic though. You can't quite do as much. But what we can do, we're going to go ahead and pull an example that they already have, and it's going to be under the data drop down. We're going to click univariate data to quantitative data and just pick one of the examples that they have on here. We'll do the min and max temperatures. Okay, the first thing that we can do with this application is if we look at all of the different cities, we can actually alphabetize them. And so we'll just click on one of the cells there and go ahead and sort them. And so now they're in alphabetical order. We can also do a lot of different things with finding averages or summing different numbers. In this case, we'll go ahead and find the average high temperature. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom here. And right at the bottom, we're going to type in equals average, the word average. And we're looking at B1 to B289. So you enter it just like this. And if we press enter, that's going to give us the average high temperature in this case. And so what we can also do is use the data that we have to graph. And so if we go up to tools and graph, we're going to select the histogram option. And we're going to press OK. And this just gives us a graph of the various high temperatures and how often those high temperatures occur. And so you can change the scale. You can show, there's a normal approximation option so that you can show kind of a bell curve. So those are just a few different things that you can do with this application. It's pretty basic. It depends on the data that you have. But that about wraps it up for this.